Good morning, everyone. Am I audible to all of you? So you need to respond in case you're in a position to listen to what I'm speaking. Good morning, Sivangi. So we'll be starting from where we had left. We were discussing about the relationship between India and Nepal. Good morning, Amit. That's great, Sivangi. My voice is reaching out to you. Ravi, good morning. So, good morning, everyone. Dhananjay, good morning. So we were talking about India-Nepal relationship. And we have seen that this relationship has been through thick and thins always. And we had talked about yesterday the 1995 review of the policy. Good morning, Pradyum, Devbrat, Bharti, Asu. And I hope everyone is healthy and everyone is doing fine and you are focusing on the revisions as well, like we had discussed. Good morning, Asu. So everyone need to focus on the things that we are discussing. Good morning, Hemant. So we'll talk about one important year, 2008. This is the year when democracy prevailed in Nepal. There was a time. Good morning, Ankit, Bharti. Yeah, you can ask your doubt. Pradyum sir, what is the relevance of fundamentalist Talibanis for India? Okay, fundamentalist Talibanis, the relevance is like these people are danger to India. They are not they are causing. Okay, first I'll give the answer of Pradyum. He was asking about the fundamentalist Talibanis. So this fundamentalist Talibani, they are the people who can go against India and who can fan terrorism in India. Okay, so this fanning of terrorism can threaten India. And like we know, this is the land where almost 20 terrorist groups are there, and some of the names we had already discussed, like Haqqani Network, Al-Qaeda, IS, and these are having arms, ammunition, and trained terrorists. These trained terrorists can harm Indian peace and prosperity. Like you have seen many Fidain attacks in Jammu and Kashmir. We have seen infiltration every now and then, and they are attacking our civilians, they are attacking our soldiers. And we have seen many a times when the Kashmiri population was protesting, they used to show the flags of some of these terrorist networks like IS. So basically, these Talibanis are dangerous to us. And Bharti, this decoupling with respect to, I hope you are asking with respect to economy only. Ethnic insurgent Pradyumna is a ethnic group which is demanding something, and they are using arms to achieve their goal. The ethnic groups, people of similar kind. ठीक है भारती, आपका क्वेश्चन डीकपलिंग क्या है कि it is related to economy, and this is basically a situation when the projections, decoupling of Indian rupee in Nepal. Okay, you are, that is Decoupling means the value of the rupee some of the times is associated with some of the economy, right? Is associated with the economy, and when Indian rupees was in the Nepalese market, then it was having acceptance. It can be used in the economy, and the value of the Nepalese rupees was associated with Indian rupee. If the Indian rupee was falling, the Nepalese currency will fall. If the Indian rupee was rising, it were also rising. But Nepal, what they did, they disassociated it. Means that Nepal's economy will have no impact with the Indian currency, and vice versa. They were decoupled, they were separated. Basically this decoupling is an economic term which means, जिसका फंडामेंटल मीनिंग होता है कि आपकी जो इकोनॉमिक सिचुएशन है, द रियल इकोनॉमिक सिचुएशन ऑफ ए कंट्री, अगर हम सिर्फ नेपाल की बात करें, इंडिया को हटा दें, तो द रियल इकोनॉमिक सिचुएशन ऑफ द country is not reflected by the value of its own currency. But at that point in time, the economy of Nepal was being judged by the currency of India, that was Indian rupee, but they disassociated it. सुमन, इस चीज पे मैंने कुछ लिखवाया नहीं है क्योंकि ये इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है, ये इंसिडेंट आपको जानना है. और दिस इज डीकपलिंग फेनोमेना इज मोर एसोसिएटेड विथ इकोनॉमिक्स. इकोनॉमिक्स के सब्जेक्ट में इसका ज्यादा यूज होता है. एंड दिस डीकपलिंग अभी न्यूज में नहीं है तो अभी ज्यादा रेलेवेंट भी नहीं है. So is Indian government supporting junta in current coup? No, definitely not. We are not supporting anybody for coup. ऐसी चीजें नहीं कर रही है. इंडिया इज नॉट सपोर्टिंग. वो इंटरनल मैटर्स है और वो कभी भी आपस में उनकी बनती नहीं थी, तो ये चीजें हो रही हैं. देयर वॉज अ टाइम व्हेन वी परसीव्ड समवन एज अ थ्रेट. वो क्या है कि ये काम हमने श्रीलंका में किया था. That was long back, but nowadays, after the assassination of Rajiv Gandhi, we tend not to interfere in the internal matters of any of the neighboring countries. We don't do that. ठीक है? Now we'll start with this thing. I was talking about democracy prevailed in. As I have explained, ethnic group is a group of people. Like Naga tribe is a ethnic group. Manipuris are an ethnic group. If you talk about Bihar, who share same ethnicity, who share same culture, ठीक है? तो उन्हीं को ethnic group कहते हैं. Amit, you can have some of the static part as well, but with respect to, good morning Deepak, with respect to Jatin, good morning. With respect to international events, like we have talked about all the important historical events, so you need to go through it. Maybe they'll give a statement which is relevant, लेकिन उसके लिए बहुत ज़्यादा परेशान नहीं होंगे क्योंकि बहुत सारी चीज़ें नहीं पूछने वाले हैं. वो जो मेजर इवेंट्स हैं, ऑफ कोर्स इस पे एक स्टेटमेंट आ सकता है, लाइक व्हेन डेमोक्रेसी प्रिवेल्ड इन नेपाल, व्हेन देन क्या है कि द प्राइम मिनिस्टर फर्स्ट विजिटेड इंडिया, उसके बाद 2 स्टेटमेंट बॉर्डर डिस्प्यूट पे दे दिए. तो ऐसा हो सकता है, इट कैन हैपन. सो यू नीड टू no Pratyush, I have explained. Ethnic means same cultural groups. Infighting is different thing. Ethnicity, same cultural historical background, same kind of people, they are ethnic. 2 ethnic groups can fight, right? But it is not associated with fighting. Good morning, everyone. Prabhat Mani. Now I want you to focus on these things. I hope you are clear with your queries. So in 2008, when democracy prevailed in Nepal, so what happened? Prachanda, the head of the Maoist outfit, who were fighting for their rights, right? He came to power, and Prachanda visited China first. And it was very much expected because they are called as Maoist, right? They are like, they follow the principle which Mao has given. So Prachanda belonged to that group in Nepal. So when he came to power, he went to China, and it is an event which made things sour. The next visit was to India. Next visit was to India. And that too, instead of meeting some of the dignitaries, all of the persons associated with the political atmosphere of our country, he visited Mumbai, met some of the actors like Amitabh Bachchan and talked more about them. And while meeting the important political figures of our country, he talked less about the relationships that Nepal is looking forward with India. And this time, things went out of control. So India was always averse of the idea of closed cooperation at that point in time, and whole of the world was going through economic recession as well. So the condition of India was good, but rest of the world was suffering. So what India did, India gave them assurance that they'll help Nepal to build a democratic environment, and will also be helping in some of the infrastructure projects, and other economic benefits will be given to Nepal. But from that point, though India started helping Nepal, but we were always susceptible to some of the attacks by Nepalese government in the international forum, as well as it supporting China in many of the things. But what India did in 2008, looking at the changing scenario, in 2010, India gave grants and supplied food grains to Nepal. As each and every country of the world was struggling with the financial crisis, and India also developed a three-tier mechanism to deal with Nepal. India said that as things are changing, as the environment in Nepal is changing, engaging at the top level only may not yield results. So India decided that we have to make sure that we are engaging with Nepal from all the fronts, so that it does not tend to get completely aligned to China. So we said that now the engagements will happen at the level of ministries, at the level of secretaries, and also will be associating technologically. So it will open a plethora of things that can help engage both the countries to develop a good relationship. Because Prachanda belonged to a group which was rebellious in nature in Nepal, and they were always seeking help of China as well. So it was very, very important from the Indian perspective to give them some hope that India is going to be the good neighbor, and we will not behave like big brother. And India declared that we are willing to promote the process of peace with Nepal. India willing to promote process of peace with Nepal. So we always had this thing. The process of peace was an ongoing process since the time we were independent. But we declared in order to assure that rest of the world also knows that we do not want the kind of relationships that had been in past. We want a cordial relationship. And then things more or less remained same. The confusion remained the same until and unless they were more inclined towards China. They were still blaming India. But 2015, some of the events changed the scenario. The first thing, there was devastating earthquakes. There were devastating earthquakes in Nepal. Many parts of Nepal suffered. Even Kathmandu was destroyed. That was related to those two countries' money. We are least interested in that. China said that will support. They started supporting. They started engaging at different levels with China. They still are engaging. But militarily they are engaging. They are for education, for technical development, for infrastructure development. The kind of association with China is like what India is engaging with the US, right? So they are associating in many fields, and previously also they were doing. So we have to look from the perspective of India only. Okay, with China they have different deals, many development projects like ring road in Kathmandu, airport in Kathmandu, many things China is developing there. That India wanted to do. Actually, China is doing everything for them because they are not willing to do it with India. So in 2000, there was an earthquake in Nepal. It caused devastation. So India sent disaster management forces India sent disaster management force. India helped in rebuilding infrastructure. Okay, so India came forward. Yeah, Deepak, Bhutan is a lot better than Pratyush. The three-tier mechanism is engaging at three levels. The ministries will meet, the secretaries, the bureaucrats of the country will meet, and we'll be discussing some of the technicalities as well. How to engage, okay? Will be like in infrastructure, if we are transferring some technology as well, like in road development, we'll be sending maybe BRO to take a look and how to develop things. So at three levels, we were engaging. Only at ministerial level, some of the times how things will be implemented is not understood by both the parties. So we started engaging at different levels so that the engagement increases. Not every day or every month prime ministers of the two countries can talk, because India is engaged with so many countries of the world, right? So at least when there is no communication among the top people of the country, at the bureaucratic level, we'll have some kind of communication regularly so that we can fan out any kind of confusion or suspicion that exists between two countries. Okay? And so these things were happening. Note it down. So when these things were happening, of course, India came forward. Rest of the world also helped. Jatin, that is not important. You have to, you don't need to know all those things. I am giving you a glimpse only in order to make sure that you can focus on the contemporary things. Contemporary part is important. Until and unless you are a student of international relations, you don't need to go so deep in that. Okay? For PSIR students, the real engagement is important. Our concern is mostly to the things, whatever is happening now in the contemporary period, last 2-3 years only. So we'll be focusing more on that. Because we want good relationship. I had Deepak, we had talked about this thing as well, that we want good relationship, so we send aid, we invest in the countries to benefit as well. Maybe initial investment will not fetch us anything, but they'll give our companies some of the projects, will benefit from economic angle as well. Okay, so we are doing that. Now I hope everybody has noted this down. But in the same year only, what happened? There was a problem of Madhesis, Janjatis, okay, and Tharus. In 2015, there was a confusion amongst the citizens of Nepal. Okay, the other event, citizenship issue in Nepal. It was their internal matter. India had nothing to do with it. And what they were doing, this was on account of framing of the constitution. Framing of constitution of Nepal. It was part of it. And what Nepal did, it tried to divide their population based on some of the arbitrary ways. And the government focused on separating those people who will not vote for them. ठीक है? What they did, because of this thing, the Madhesis were at disadvantage. We don't need to know the framework. Yeah, Mani, in the same year. We don't need to exact details of that, but we need to know that Madhesis were at disadvantage and they started protesting. And created blockade. Because they were the businessman community and they were residing in the plains. So they were in a position to block the supplies to whole of Nepal. So what it led to? It led to a humanitarian crisis in Nepal, and that too after only 5-6 months of that devastating earthquake. Right? So what happened? Nepal said that most of these Madhesi population are having relationship with India. And the local population of Nepal cannot go against rest of the population of Nepal. But the thing was, Madhesis were not given the rights. So they created a blockade. But in this event, Nepal blamed India for this. Nepal said that India is in Madhesis are the people of Nepal who stay in the plain areas. Okay? Like Naga are the people who stay in Nagaland. Right? So Madhesi is a group of people who stay in the plains of Tarai belt of Nepal. So Nepal blamed India for this situation, and the relationship again deteriorated. So for anything and everything, India was being blamed. Though India had no role, they are the people who thought that if some of the people were protesting, still protesting around Delhi, right? The farmers, they have their own genuine issue of MSP, so they are protesting. But if India tells that it is being done by some other country, it will be wrong. In the same manner, Madhesis were in problem, they protested, and Nepal blamed India for that. So India was like in shock, and they were suspicious of India. So things turned out sour. And these things continued. And we know that we had border issue recently because it is a contemporary issue, so we'll be looking at that. Now, in contemporary issues, I'll be discussing the border issues and all. But the most recent event, if we look at the things, whatever was happening, happened in 2021 only. In 2021, we had the 6th meeting of India-Nepal Joint Commission. 6th meeting of India-Nepal Joint Commission. So to improve the relationship, there are joint commissions is made in both these nations. This is since 1987. So 5 previous meetings were there to improve the relationship of the both countries, which have always failed. Now in 2021 only, we had this meeting again in order to improve the relationship between India and Nepal. So we'll be looking at some of the things in all the joint meetings, what they discuss, we'll be looking at. We always talk about the border dispute. Okay. We also talk about economic cooperation. We talk about economic cooperation. We talk about trade. We talk about transit. We also talk about some of the important matters of resources, like water resources. As Nepal is not having many resources with respect to human resources development, so we also talk about human resource and education. And as 2021, it is a bit different, right? We are having COVID-19. So this meeting also had discussions on COVID-19. Okay. So health is also involved. And in 2020 and 2021, India has helped with COVID-19 in many respects, noted down. Then we'll look at what India has done. India has provided vaccines and all, right? AstraZeneca vaccines. So this is the relationship that India is having with Nepal. Though they, historically, we can see that they were never in favor of supporting us, but India made sure that they get each and everything, whatever is required. We always had friendly gestures towards them. but still they did not reciprocate in the way India wanted them to. Okay, so this is the historical relationship that India had with Nepal. Now we're looking at some of the important things which can be asked in exam, right? Few of the things, these are the things amongst which you need to write a backgrounder, or maybe if there is a essay on relationship of India with rest of the world, there can be essay like I discussed in the first lecture only, that there can be a direct essay on international relations. So I am helping with the background so that you'll be in a position to write 1200 to 1400 words easily if there is a essay on any of the specific states with whom India is having a relationship. Okay? Now we'll move forward to the contemporary relationships. I hope everybody has noted this down. So we'll look at contemporary relations. These are the heads, these contemporary things that you have to follow in the newspapers, right? You have to follow this regularly from the newspapers, and you have to update whatever is happening in current scenario. This is the only thing that will be required from your side. Rest of the story we had discussed. Background, I hope everyone is clear. We had discussed each and every aspect of this relationship. So in this relationship, the first point which is important is economic relationship. Okay, so even if it is always trying, Nepal is always trying to get inclined towards China again and again, but the natural frontiers, the natural boundaries are making sure that it is forced to have most of its relationship with India only. And India is Nepal's largest trading partner. India is Nepal's largest trading partner. So even if Nepal doesn't want to improve the relationship, they are forced to give a glimpse that they are friendly with India, because the moment they are not friendly with India, India will create a blockade on the borders and they'll be destroyed. Okay, so they always had good relationships. They try to show to the world that they are not against India, but India is doing some of the things that are hampering Nepalese people. In fact, almost 30% of investment in Nepal is from India. So it is a huge amount of investment that Indians have done in Nepal, right? But the problem is that in this relationship, India exports more to Nepal and imports less. India exports more to Nepal then it imports. And this is the point where Nepal says that it should not be like this. India should also import more goods from Nepal. But of course, you know that it is not possible. If India is a big country, it has more resources, it definitely is in a position to produce more things. So, because of its geographical disadvantage, Nepal has to buy all the things from India. So the balance of trade, if we look at, is not in favor of Nepal. And this is a cause of concern for Nepal. But Nepal is not producing many things that India can buy. Okay? So this is the contemporary scenario of this economic relationship, specifically the economic relationship with Nepal. India is helping them in many respects. So maybe if some important trade agreement is between India, in future you need to mention that in this area only. Economic cooperation, a big deal is between India and Nepal in future. So you'll have to mention here only. Now the other area, note it down fast. India exports more to Nepal than its imports. Okay. Now we'll look at the connectivity. The second topic of this relationship is connectivity. Now there is a project, some of the important projects that you need to know. Sagar Matha, Sagar. This Sagar Matha and Sagar connectivity project. Okay. So what is Sagar Matha is the name of Mount Everest. And Sagar is your Bay of Bengal. Okay. So this is basically Mount Everest to Bay of Bengal connectivity. So India is willing to help them in trade. So we have assured them that we'll help them connect with the Kolkata port. They will be in a position to sell their products to the world using our port from Kolkata. Okay, so this is the one of the important projects that both the countries are working on. If we talk about some other, we definitely have seen about BBIN, that I'll not be explaining much because we had seen this thing in detail. The BBIN project, we have seen this project in detail, so you need to mention. Yeah, Pradyumna, of course, China is trying and it is also investing more. But if we talk about the historical investments that India is making, it will take some time before China matches India, right? Because we have been doing this investment since a very long period of time, since we got independence. It's just a matter of time before China's investment increases, because they are taking very big projects. In fact, they are engaging in some of the biggest projects of the world by linking China with Nepal via rail route, roadways and airways. So of course in future they'll do that. Yeah, Mani, this connectivity is through road connectivity only, so that their product is being sold. They'll bring their product to Kolkata port and then sell it. So India is also helping them develop many railway projects. And whenever you are writing answer in this thing, I want you to draw the diagram that we had discussed. So leave some space so that you can draw that diagram here after the class. Right? We had discussed this BBIN project in detail. So you need to mention that. Okay. Now we'll talk about some major issues. The border dispute. Mani, didn't you attend the classes? BBIN we had discussed. You guys are not revising the things well, and this is not done. I had asked you guys to make sure that you revise the things, but you are not doing that. Someone please help him with this. The first relationship that we had discussed among our neighbors, we had discussed this with Bhutan. So BBIN is Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal, all these states. So I'll not be repeating this again and again, right? You need to go through that. We had a diagram as well. Yeah, Mani, please revise. This is important. BBIN project is important. It is taking care of relationship with almost 3 countries of the world. So it will appear again and again. So do read this. This is important. Yeah, Hemant, very good. So now we'll talk about the border dispute. This is one of the most recent happening, and this is started with when India presented with a map. When India presented with a map after declaration of abrogation of Article 370, Jammu and Kashmir were declared as union territories, and they were bifurcated, they were divided. Thereafter, what India did? India came out with a map in which we had shown some of the places as part of India. But Nepal started protesting against it. Okay? So it was basically, I want you to draw this diagram as well, and then I'll explain what this dispute is all about. This is the Nepal, and here we have India. Let's say, okay. Here we have India. And here the shape of the place which is under dispute is somewhat like this. Okay. As we had since beginning, we have discussed that whenever there is a scope of drawing a diagram, okay, you want to see this is many railway projects. So one spot of conflict is Limpiadhura. That is very, very close inside India. This should not be even a case of dispute between India and Nepal, but they objected about this place. This was like a strange thing that they have done. Okay. The other spots, of course, there can be a dispute, and the reason being that they, of course, are in some of the areas where there can be a confusion. Okay. They are at a place where there can be a confusion. But this Limpiadhura is at some place where there shouldn't have been any kind of conflict. Okay. Now the other spot is Kalapani. And the third one is the Lipu Lake Pass. So these three spots, Deepak, that part is like almost resolved. It did not become an international issue. If we look at, there were a few days back also, there were some of the skirmishes about some of the places. But the area that you are talking about is a very small place, and it is not of, it is not an event that is of any international importance. So though you know it is good, but those places are not like much of a concern. King Vaisali, if we talk about, and the other aspect that you are talking about, by the claims of some ruler who was there in 6th BC or 3rd BC, we cannot claim some of the lands, right? After that, many of the things changed. So we have to look at some of the things, recent things, which shows how the things were after the British colony left India. Most of the fight is with our neighbors is always about those places where British did not demarcate the things properly. So this is also, I'll be talking about a treaty, the Treaty of Sugauli, then you'll be understanding this. But at first, it is important that you try to understand the actual scenario. So I'm going to draw some of the things that will make things clear to you. Now, the problem here is that the Kali River flows through this. This is Mahakali River or Kali River. We call it by both names. So India says that the land beyond this belongs to Nepal, right? But Nepal claims that everything which is between Limpiadhura and this river also belongs to Nepal. The reason being, because this is a place which has numerous rivers and they all are connected. There are lots of rivers out here, and like we always have local names for some of the rivers, one small stream here, okay, this small stream here is also traditionally called as Kali, and hence there is confusion. The whole of the place is dotted with many of the small streams, and a very small stream out here is also called Kali by some of the local peoples. And Nepal is aware of this thing because they had cultural relations with thousands of years with India. And now this small stream, what it has done, it has given the ammunition to Nepal. Now Nepal says that as we have river Kali here, so all the place which is beyond this part is Nepal. So everybody is clear with this dispute, why it is happening. And now the Kali river is the key, and the roots of this dispute are in a pact that was signed in 1816 with the British Indian government. It was not the Indian government. So draw it, and always what you need to do, whenever you are drawing this thing in exam, always show like this. Make sure that whatever you are drawing, you are explaining these. Okay? These are streams. As we have written Mahakali river, so it is not necessary that will represent that, but still you can show like this, and you can write river. So this is a kind of index that you need to. Lipu Lake. Yes. It is in eastern Nepal and western part of Uttarakhand. So now the problem is this. Everybody is clear with this thing? Draw this diagram. And now we'll look at the Treaty of Singrauli that has caused this issue. And what are the things that needs to be done. Everybody is done? The Treaty of Sugauli or Treaty of Singrauli, an Asian name, but the treaty which was signed by this name, and it was in 1816. Treaty of Sugauli. And here, which parties had this agreement? British, India, and Nepal were parties to it. At that time, we did not had India as an independent country. Okay? So, the treaty was between Nepal and British India. And what they did? They identified Kali River as border. The name Kali is written there. Okay? So when this name is creating all the confusion. So this is important, the diagram is important, between whom and whom. Kali River as border. I hope everybody is clear with this. So this is the dispute of our interest. So what they did? India notified its map after declaring UTs of Jammu Kashmir. ठीक है? So what Nepal protested and came out with its own map. And if some of you, of course, Deepak, there are no copies of that thing, but India should be concerned because some country which is our neighbor is taking claims and it can deteriorate the relationship between these two countries. Kali River is mentioned, but there are too many Kali rivers, Pradyum. Like what I have done. You didn't see the diagram properly, I guess. I wrote Mahakali or Kali. The same, this river is also Kali and this small stream is also Kali. So there is confusion because only the name is mentioned. And if you have followed this issue, of course, you know that there were so many memes. There were after that. This was a very funny period at that point in time. If some of you are users of social media, maybe Twitter or Instagram especially, and Facebook, even some of the TV channels were making memes on this by showing the whole of the world belongs to Nepal. It was a very funny situation because whole of the world was making fun of Nepal for claiming this thing. But as their ego was hurt, their media and their people started asking their government what they are doing about this. So they carry forward this thing for a long period of time, and everything with Bihar border as well, some other parts which were not disputed as well. Many things happened at that point in time. But this issue can arise again. So you need to follow this. Now we'll talk about the other point of our interest is security. So the other point of this engagement is security. ठीक है? या भारती भगवान राम अयोध्या के हैं. विल नॉट इंटर इनटू दीज काइंड ऑफ डिस्कशंस. बहुत पीछे नहीं जाएंगे आप लोग. अभी जो इंपॉर्टेंट है यू नीड टू फोकस ऑन दैट. तो सिक्योरिटी सबसे बड़ा कंसर्न क्या है? लाइक वी ऑल नो दैट द नॉर्थ ईस्टर्न पार्ट ऑफ द कंट्री is facing insurgency. So within security, the first issue is insurgency in northeast. So here Nepal has many training camps. Also, the insurgents easily cross over to Nepal. They also get weapons sent from China to Nepal. So these are problematic things for India. As we have seen, the relationship was really not good since ancient times. Plus, China is having more and more of influence. Mahakali River is flowing eastward in Sikkim. Nope, Ravi. Uttarakhand border. Sikkim is like on the opposite side of Nepal. The Uttarakhand part, Ravi. Uttarakhand. The border with Uttarakhand is the cause of concern. Okay, so these are the things that are happening, and that is almost happening with all the states which are nearby northeastern states of the country. So this point is important. Is still many of the people of the band organizations like Bodo and these Ulfa, and some of the insurgent groups of Nagaland and Manipur are also having safe haven in Nepal, and they are also getting arms and ammunition. And Nepal government is not very much interested in taking care of such things. So it is a big problem for India. And the biggest challenge that has appeared recently is a connectivity, rail connectivity project between Nepal and China that has a design which can actually cut off whole of Northeast from India. The design is really, really dangerous. So we need to focus on that. We'll be putting a special focus on this one, and you have to make sure that you are following this news regularly. Okay, so there is a project, Sigatse Girong. You have to follow this project because this is a project which is basically in China, but China has a design that it wants to expand this to Nepal. Okay, this is a rail connectivity project of China wants to connect parts or towns and cities of Nepal with it. This is more recent and this is most important. This one you'll have to make sure that you are following this news. This is going to stay as a concern for India for a very long period of time. So keep following this thing. No, India cannot do that, Deepak. There will be negativity against India if we provide arms to separatist groups, and plus rest of the neighbors will start providing the same thing to separatists in Jammu and Kashmir and northeastern states, and we won't be able to say anything. At least as we are not doing anything like that, we can blame them, right? So write it down. Now we'll look what exactly it is. Okay, what is the design? This is your Nepal. This is India. And here we have China. Okay. So talking about Adi Tibet, yes, China, the plus Kathmandu. But the project, if we see, These are the two spots. Sigatse. In some of the books, you'll see the spelling like this. Zigatse. Okay? Sigatse. And this is Gairong. Here we have somewhere Kathmandu. Okay? Draw it. Here we have Pokhara. This is Lumbini. So these are some of the important places where they want to, and this place, very close to India, Uttarakhand, they want to connect this place as well. This place is called as Burang. And there is one more concern. There is one more place, Yadong. So at the tri-junction where Bhutan, India, this is your Sikkim, this is Bhutan. And now what China declared? It initially declared that they are going to connect these two places via rail route. Okay? They'll be connecting these two places. Now what it proposed to Kathmandu, that let us help you connect with your bordering areas, plus we'll connect it to Pokhara and Lumbini. And you know, the moment they reach Lumbini, they are almost connected. They are nearby India. They can easily send their forces in Nepal and they can reach out to India. Okay? And if they are connecting Yadong with Sigatse, then they are always in a position to cut India from the chicken neck, the small part. And plus they want to connect Burang as well. So this is an evil design. Okay? Initially this project has nothing to do with any other part. They had their connectivity projects up to Sigatse from Lhasa, from Xinjiang province. Now what they want? They want to connect all these places. And Indian borders are at close proximity. Right? So this is a dangerous project of, and if we extend this thing, the other problem is, let me show you something else as well with this. This is not only restricted to this. This is our Arunachal. They are also planning to increase this thing to a place called Ningchi. So they are, in a way, everywhere. They want to be everywhere. In the pretext of hydro projects, they have already developed some of the things. But with this, it can be very, very dangerous for India. This is our northeast India. So already they are creating disturbances at many of the borders. And now what they are doing? They are coming closer. Their developmental projects are coming so close to India that it is instilling some kind of fear in India. So this is important. You have to make sure that you are following this whenever it is in news. Note it down, draw this diagram. Okay, hope everybody is done. So this project is a threat. This project is a threat to Indian security. Good, Hemant. And this security concern, this is a big security concern for India. Now we'll look at other relationship. That is energy cooperation. What if Indian occupy this infrastructure? It would be easy for rich Lhasa, and it can backfire as China is more concerned about its own region. Deepak, we are not in a position to do so. We Indians tend to believe that we can do anything, whatever we want. We can't. Even if you have Rafale, it doesn't mean that you can do much with China. Because we cannot fight. We have economic concerns as well. There is no possibility of having a fight with China. We will not do that. Okay, Asu, make it fast. Now we'll look at energy cooperation. No, Bharti, I have written this project is a threat to Indian security. So this is enough. The diagram, you know what is happening. So of course, after writing this much only, you can easily give a picture that it is a threat. Anybody, even if you don't write this line, you can definitely show by this diagram only. It is self-explanatory. So I always stress on making diagrams in your answers. There are soldiers, Pradyumna, in Northeast. In fact, India has increased many this what you call as military sites. We have increased, but we don't declare to the world again and again. No country wants war. Even if you go to war, maybe you can fight for. No, Ravi, they won't do it by cutting the Himalayas, but they will make some of the tunnels like we are doing in Jammu and Kashmir. Definitely, they are doing all of that. Okay. So, energy cooperation. Next is energy cooperation. So, currently, if we look at this cooperation, India is supplying more than 600 megawatt of energy to Nepal. So India is supplying more than 600 megawatt of energy to Nepal. And the second point, India is supplying this much of energy, plus India has signed, both the countries have signed an agreement on grid connectivity in 2014. Okay, so we have signed an agreement on grid connectivity in 2014. First cross border was started in Purnima. India is supplying energy so that they can get energy and we can get money. We are selling. Some of the times we are providing it on low rates as they are neighbors. We have also offered to create some of the projects together. Some of the grid connectivity, Sazil, grid connectivity is like the electricity flows in India through a grid, right? We always hear about electricity grid. So, like we are using this grid to send the supply of energy, electric energy in our country, we want to connect this thing with Nepal as well. We'll be sending that. The transmission lines throughout the states, okay, that is grid. Okay, the first cross-border petroleum connectivity line was also established. This was between Motihari in India to Amlek Ganj in Nepal. Motihari to Amlek Ganj. The pipeline. Okay. So now we can send petroleum directly with the help of petroleum pipelines to Nepal. So in this respect also, we are helping Nepal. Note it down. Now we'll look at the cultural relationships, the cultural connections. These are some of the common points, some of the easy points that every relationship has. But already we have seen in diagrams the most important ones. Those were the most important relationship, the security concern, the connectivity projects. These are some of the most important relationships that we need to focus. This is money. Basically, it is again an economic question. There are some of the policies of the government that each government follows in order to save some of the money for the country. India has higher cost of petroleum only because we had signed some of the agreements. There are basically two causes for that. But this is a question which relates more with economy, but still I'll explain. Initially, what was that? When we had signed the agreements, we had taken the things in a cost that is today not favorable because of the fluctuations of the cost of petroleum. So Indian government started saving some of the money and transporting the cost to the general public. And the second cause was the rates are fluctuating as per the market conditions. So if you want to know about this thing in detail, you'll have to read some of the things related to maybe you'll have a discussion of this thing in economy or geography. Okay, but I hope you are clear. The rates are like it is based on some of the policies of the government. Some of the states like Nepal are highly subsidizing the petroleum, but India had subsidies and now it is not relying much on the subsidy. Now we'll look at the cultural connections. So of course the first cultural, sir, what we are doing, we are trying to engage with Nepal. This is the only counter strategy that we have, that we are doing for 70 years. But if the rulers are adamant to free their shackles from India, definitely they'll be moving towards China. This is because of some of the historical mistakes done by India as well. Like you know that we had created blockade many a times whenever they started getting close to China. So we use blockades. We also are pursuing some of the developmental projects, some of the energy projects, like we are providing petroleum seamlessly, we are providing food resources, we are giving employment. So these all strategies are only to ensure that China do not have much of influence in Nepal. So first is Buddhism. अभी डायग्राम में हमने लुम्बिनी भी देखा. This is the birthplace of, yeah, Proteus. Sigatse project is always, it is almost completed, but it has not reached Nepal. नेपाल में अभी नहीं हो रहा है. So the first connection is cultural connect is Buddhism. Okay. So people from Nepal are visiting the places in India like Gaya and all, and our population visits Lumbini. The other relationship, if we talk about, the roti-beti relationship, this is the name that is given to this relationship. Because roti-beti means the historical ties that the two nations have shared. We had matrimonial alliances culturally with Nepal. Okay. So Raja Janak, father of Sita, it is said that belonged to Nepal. Okay. Janakpuri. Matrimonial alliances are still prevalent. People from Nepal work in India to earn their bread. So this roti, the bread and matrimonial alliances is there, right? It is still there. So this relationship is equally important since cultural times. As per our mythology, we had this relationship, and still this relationship exists today. This is based on the culture that both the countries have shared since ancient times. So note it down. And the third point that is important is the sister city agreements, the cultural agreements that has happened. Sister city agreements between the two countries. These sister city agreements means the two cities are somewhat similar in nature, and both these cities will be developed in a way that people see similarities in both of them. So they will be establishing some of the bus services, some of the tourism network and all, right? So with India, Ayodhya and Janakpur, sister cities, they both symbolize okay, it has cultural value. Now we have Varanasi, Kathmandu, these two places, Varanasi and Kathmandu, are related with Shiva and Vishnu. So cultural connect is visible. So bus services has been started. So these are the things which are important. Some of the aspects, small aspects maybe, will come. So note it down, and then we'll discuss that question that we had decided yesterday. I had asked all of you to think over a question. What is the role of China in developing India-Nepal relationship? This was the question I had given you. So, yeah, Ravi. So, we'll be discussing that question. There will be many aspects. जितना हमने discuss किया है, अगर आप अगले साल मेंस दे रहे हैं, If somebody is appearing in 2022, so these all aspects will be important. Maybe in 23, some other aspect will become more important, and some of it will lose some of the relevance. ठीक है, most of it is going to remain so. तो जल्दी जल्दी इसको नोट कर लीजिए, then we'll discuss the question, ताकि आप लोग आंसर लिखना भी सीख पाएं. क्योंकि prelims is easy. Prelims, yeah, Ravi, if you are giving this year only, then it is going to be really important for you. These things are going to be important. Okay, Ravi, if everybody has noted, then we'll look at a question so that some of you who are appearing this time will Roti Beti Sazil, I have explained that people earn their bread. मतलब क्या है? रोटी अपना कमा के खाने का व्यवस्था करते हैं ये एक दूसरे के यहाँ जाके, और बेटी रिलेशनशिप मतलब हम एक दूसरे को अपनी बेटी शादी करवाते हैं. प्रद्युम देखिए क्या है, कल ना आई वांट टू स्टार्ट विद सम अदर टॉपिक टुडे ओनली, इंडिया एंड बांग्लादेश, बट स्टिल शुरू में क्या है कि आई एम ट्राइंग टू मेक श्योर कि आप थोड़ा सा आंसर लिखना सीखें, क्योंकि बिकॉज द नंबर ऑफ आवर्स अलॉटेड टू मी आर नॉट सफिशिएंट टू कैरी ऑन विद क्वेश्चन आंसर सेशंस एवरी नाउ एंड देन, बट स्टिल आई वांट ऑल ऑफ यू टू मेक श्योर दैट यू अंडरस्टैंड सम ऑफ द थिंग्स, ताकि आप बाद में कहीं भी ज्वाइन करके प्रैक्टिस कर लेंगे तो आप लोगों के लिए आसान होगा. सो हियर question. So the question can be framed in many ways, but basically the question will be to make sure that China angle is there in Indo-Nepal relationship. ठीक है? So I'll not be talking about the full statements. मैं वो सारे नहीं करने वाले हैं. But I'll talk about how you can start an answer like this. Let's say introduction. Now we know that the introduction needs few reflections of the keywords that are in the question. So our keyword is Indo-Nepal relationship, our keyword is China, and the word influence. So for a person who is new to answer writing, it is very, very important that they start with something which is easy for them to even comprehend and understand. So for this question, the introduction can be, since the independence of India, the relationship with Nepal was not very clear and China's role cannot be denied about it. तो एक सिंपल कोई भी स्टेटमेंट ऐसा लिखेंगे, ठीक है, एक इंट्रोडक्टरी स्टेटमेंट जिसमें आप इन तीनों चीजों को रिफ्लेक्ट कर पाए. एक सिंपल से प्रद्युम चाइना ट्रीटी आप लिख सकते हैं, उसमें चाइना की ट्रीटी इंडिया और नेपाल दोनों के साथ तो कोई हुई नहीं है, तो ये इंक्रीज द वर्ड्स. और इंट्रोडक्शन हमारा शॉर्ट होना चाहिए. इट शुड बी शॉर्ट एंड इट हैज टू बी वेरी क्लियर कि आप कहाँ जा रहे हैं. इट हैज टू गिव द मैसेज कि वी हैव understood the question and we are in right direction, वैसा statement. Now I'll talk about the body. ठीक है, बॉडी से पहले क्या होगा, लाइक आई हैड सेड थ्रेट. थ्रेट यूज कर सकते हैं, वो माइनॉरिटी व्यू होगा. इट इज नॉट ओनली अबाउट थ्रेट. सम ऑफ द टाइम्स द बिहेवियर ऑफ चाइना इज गिविंग ग्लोबल रिकॉग्निशन टू इंडिया कि चाइना खराब है इसलिए इंडिया अच्छा है. थ्रेट आई हैव ऑलरेडी एक्सप्लेन प्रद्युम्न. ठीक है, मतलब यू कैन कम अप विथ योर ओन आइडियाज एंड सी इट आफ्टर 10 days. अगर आपको वो लगता है ठीक है तो फिर आप उसको परस्यू कीजिए. अभी हर एक का व्यू मैं नहीं ले पाऊंगा, बट आई विल ट्राई टू एक्सप्लेन, जिसपे आप लिखने की कोशिश कीजिएगा. ट्राई दिस आंसर टुडे आफ्टर द क्लासेस. अब बॉडी से पहले लिखेंगे कि वी कैन सी सच इन्फ्लुएंस ऑन सम ऑफ द फैक्टर्स डिस्कस्ड बिलो. एक कनेक्टिंग स्टेटमेंट होगा. Now we'll start our answer in some of the heads. ठीक है, we'll be using some of the heads. Introduction, body. तो कॉमन चीजें हैं जिसपे हम क्या है कि बात कर सकते हैं. इट शुड नॉट बी लाइक मतलब ऑल द हेड्स. या मनी, यू कैन डू दैट, यू कैन डेफिनेटली डू दैट. ठीक है, तो फर्स्ट वही जो हम लोग करते हैं, इकोनॉमिक पर्सपेक्टिव. इकोनॉमिक पर्सपेक्टिव में आप देख सकते हैं कि बिकॉज ऑफ द इन्फ्लुएंस ऑफ चाइना, इसमें क्या लिख सकते हैं, बिकॉज ऑफ द इन्फ्लुएंस बाय चाइना मेनी अ टाइम्स नेपाल बिहेव्स as if they don't require India for any of the economic benefits, right? And because of that, India and Nepal has seen many of the blockades, economic blockades from the side of India. एक दो instances जो न्यूज में रहेगा वो लिख सकते हैं, या हिस्टोरिकल इवेंट में हमने बात की थी वो लिख सकते हैं आप. नाउ दूसरा, मिलिट्री कॉपरेशन. ठीक है, अभी मिलिट्री कॉपरेशन की अगर हम बात करते हैं तो चाइना यूजुअली, आप न्यूज में ये पढ़ेंगे ये चीजें, मिलिट्री नेपाल उनके साथ भी कर रहा है, इंडिया के साथ भी कर रहा है. ठीक है, बोथ हैव some of the exercises happening between these two countries. And many a times in international arena, China has indirectly sent a message via Nepal कि trilateral exercises करते हैं, इंडियन ओशियन में करते हैं. इंडिया हैज ऑलवेज डिनाइड. ठीक है, तो आप इसके बारे में क्या है कि मिलिट्री कॉपरेशन पे बात कर सकते हैं. थर्ड, स्ट्रेटेजिक इन्फ्लुएंस. स्ट्रेटेजिक इन्फ्लुएंस का मतलब जैसे इंडिया क्या है, यूनाइटेड नेशन सिक्योरिटी काउंसिल में इंडिया परमानेंट मेंबर बनना चाहता है. सो मेनी अ टाइम्स नेपाल डजंट गिव्स अस ए क्लियर सिग्नल in many of the forums, like where India is representing the developing countries and having some demand, like intellectual property right of medicine, compulsory licensing and all. We expect that Nepal is also a developing country, so it will support. But what we see that in some of the important strategic concerns which actually can benefit Nepal as well, Nepal is not on the same page as India. So of course our relationship deteriorates. तो आप इस एंगल पे लिख सकते हैं. और क्या बात कर सकते हैं हम, we can talk about regional forums. We can talk about regional forums like SAARC. We'll study about it. Definitely India's relationship with respect to these organizations. तो यहाँ पे जो situation है, it is not always good. Under the pressure of China, many a times these flips, Nepal flips. Now you can talk about infrastructure projects. Due to influence of China, Nepal is indulging into some of the infrastructure projects like we have Sigatse, Gairong, and reaching it to Kathmandu, which can become a threat to India, but still Nepal is going ahead because China says that it will help Nepal to connect it with the bordering areas, unreachable areas, they will be investing. तो इन चीजों के बारे में आप लिख सकते हैं. You can also talk about policy matters. In news, you must have heard that one of the diplomats of China is residing in Nepal, and she is so much influential that most of the decisions of the recent times appears that China is literally dictating. तो आप उसके बारे में बात कर सकते हैं. So there are so many things that you can talk about. और ये अभी मैंने एक लिमिटेड आपको स्कोप बताया है. और आप इसमें बहुत सारा जो न्यूज में आएगा तो कुछ और चीजें भी ऐड कर सकते हैं. ठीक है, बहुत सारी चीजें और ऐड कर सकते हैं. बट दीज मेनी पॉइंट्स विद डायग्राम्स एंड ऑल, सम फ्लो डायग्राम्स, सम गुड एग्जांपल्स, कंटेम्पररी एग्जांपल्स, आप बहुत अच्छा आंसर लिख सकते हैं जिसमें आपको अच्छे मार्क्स मिलेंगे. And then you can conclude that based on these points, of course, we can see that China's role is dominant in the development of relationship between India and Nepal, and India must do some of the things which can actually help to reduce the dependency of Nepal from China. And our close neighbors should come back to us. एक पॉजिटिव स्टेटमेंट लिखेंगे. ठीक है, पॉलिसी मैटर्स में लाइक यही कि कौन सा कंट्री से कैसा रिलेशनशिप होना चाहिए, वो इंडिया से डिस्कस करने की जगह, जबकि इंडिया के बगल से ही मान लीजिए उसको इंडिया के पोर्ट से ही जाना होगा, लेकिन कैसे करेंगे वो चीज क्या है कि ट्रेड कैसे करेंगे वो चाइना से डिस्कस करके कर लेंगे. इंटरनल पॉलिसी मैटर्स जिसमें इंडिया हेल्प कर सकता है, लाइक मधेसी क्राइसिस वाज देयर, इंडिया वाज इन अ पोजीशन टू हेल्प बिकॉज आधे मधेसी लोग के रिश्तेदार इंडिया में हैं, बिहार में, तो इंडिया हेल्प कर सकता था. बट व्हाट दे डिड, दे रिलाइड ऑन सम ऑफ द एडवाइसेस फ्रॉम चाइना हु आर नॉट इवन अवेयर ऑफ द कल्चरल थिंग्स दैट आर हैपनिंग इन आवर एरिया. ठीक है, इन इंडिया. तो वैसी चीजों में उनके लिए पॉलिसी बनाया, मधेसी के लिए वो गलत पॉलिसी बनाई, वो प्रोटेस्ट करने लगे. क्योंकि कोई इनपुट क्या है कि बाहर से चाइना ने दिया, ऐसे डिवाइड करेंगे तो गवर्नमेंट में क्या है कि बने रहेंगे, कंट्रोल अच्छा रहेगा, एंड दे फॉलोड इट. तो इन सब चीजों के बारे में कंटेम्पररी पर लिखिएगा, उस समय जो कंटेम्पररी रहेगा. ऑलवेज ट्राई टू गिव करंट एग्जाम्पल्स, इट गिव्स मोर वैल्यू, इट एड्स मोर वैल्यू टू योर आंसर्स. ठीक है, तो मैं चाहता हूं कि एटलीस्ट इसको सभी लोग ट्राई कीजिएगा. ट्राई टू राइट दिस आंसर टुडे, because if you start thinking in a direction, you start making some of the heads which are important for the exam. If you talk about different dimensions, then definitely you can write good answers. ठीक है, पूरा पूरा अभी लिखना नहीं जानते हैं, फिर भी स्ट्रक्चरिंग सीखेंगे, प्रेजेंटेशन सीखेंगे. हर में क्या है कि आपको कोशिश ये करनी है कि एग्जाम्पल ऐड करेंगे, डायग्राम्स ऐड करेंगे. ठीक है, फ्लो डायग्राम्स भी यूज करना चाहिए, फ्लो डायग्राम. तो ऑल दीज थिंग्स विल हेल्प योर आंसर. ठीक है, तो नाउ वी आर डन विद दिस इंडिया नेपाल रिलेशनशिप, and with the because of the paucity of time, of course I cannot take many questions, because it is important that I help you cover almost all the important aspects with related to international relations. But these small discussions will definitely help you start in a right direction. Okay. This will definitely give you, each one of you, at least you can write this answer today. जो लास्ट टाइम डिस्कस किया था वो भी आप स्टार्ट करेंगे तो धीरे धीरे चीजें ठीक हो जाएंगी. Now we'll start with one, our next neighbor. India and Bangladesh. I cannot, Sazil, I cannot check. I do not have that much of time, neither I can check so many papers. It's beyond my capacity. I cannot spare time for checking papers. I'm just teaching you the way you can write. Maybe you can join some of the test series and see how you write your answers. Okay? Some of the test series, 1-2 answers every day, or maybe weekly 5-7 answers, any of that you can join and you can see. India-Bangladesh relationship. India and Bangladesh relationship, of course, we had, while discussing the era of Indira Gandhi, we had discussed a lot about some of the things that initially shaped this relationship, right? So almost every background we have of this relationship, but still we'll be focusing on some of the things that happened in Bangladesh, and those events will shape our perspective, how the relationship could have developed. And then we'll be focusing more on the contemporary issues. Yeah, Soham, that is good. That is really good. Because the motto of this thing is to make sure that you are comfortable in prelims, mains, and interview. These interactions are to ensure that you are learning something that can help you in each and every stage of the exam. So answer writing being part of mains, which is the most dominant factor. Prelims तो रट वट के बच्चे पास हो ही जाते हैं. मेंस क्या है कि it requires a skill, the art of answer writing. तो वो चीज क्या है कि अभी से डेवलप थोड़ी थोड़ी करनी है, फिर बाद में ज्यादा प्रैक्टिस करेंगे आप लोग. So I'll be dividing this into some of the phases, the developments that happened in Bangladesh. So first we'll be looking at the making of the nation. The first phase, the making of the nation, 1947 to 1974. We'll be dividing the topics in some of the phases which can help you understand this relationship better. Okay? So ये phase क्या है? There was a time, 1947, when India and Pakistan were divided into two. Pakistan was in two parts, West Pakistan and East Pakistan. East Pakistan was completely culturally different from West Pakistan. And some of the leaders who had participated during the freedom movement of these countries from the colonial rule were very much convinced that this relationship cannot exist for a long period of time because West and East Pakistan are completely culturally different. So in 1949, Awami League was formed, which demanded separation of East Pakistan from West Pakistan. So not it is not like India started a movement and things happened in 1971 without any of the processes in East Bengal. Actually, in 1949 only, East Pakistan started a movement that can help it get separated from West Pakistan. They did not directly use the word separation. They used the term autonomy. They said that East Pakistan should be declared as an autonomous region. Most of the decisions will be taken by the people of East Pakistan, but we can be part of Pakistan as a whole, but it has to be autonomous. Okay? And all of us know some of the events some of the leaders kept trying for this. In 1971, the situations were conducive. Indo-Pak war happened. Bangladesh emerged as an independent country. Okay. In 1972, Sheikh Mujib becomes PM. So, till here the things seem smooth, right? Everything was looking good. India was favoring. So, of course, in this phase, the relationship between India and Bangladesh has to be good. This was a phase when there was a rosy picture in the relationship of India and Bangladesh. In fact, in 1974, there were massive floods. There were massive floods in Bangladesh. India offered help. So, of course, if some country is helping, the relationship has to be good, right? 1974, everything seemed good. But 28,000 people died. And protests and unrest started. Now the troubles start. Now, though Indian government in its capacity helped these people to cope with the floods, there was a time when the government was very, very nascent. Plus, there were forces operating in Bangladesh which were more inclined towards the erstwhile West Pakistan, who did not want things to work in Bangladesh because they were humiliated. They were defeated by Indian forces and they were made to surrender. They were made to sign a pact which humiliated them more. Okay? So, in this situation, 1974, government was blamed that they could not do anything, and hence the scenario changed completely. And then started the decade of assassinations and military coups. The second phase, the decade of assassinations and military coups. So this period is from 1975 to 1985. The leaders were killed, they were murdered. The military tried to take control over Bangladesh because they had a shared history with erstwhile Pakistan. And Pakistan, after independence, when their founding fathers died, they were always under military rule. So when Sheikh Mujibur tried to establish democracy, some of the people were not very fond of this democratic setup. They always had designs which could have ensured that the military again comes in power in these areas. And so these floods actually gave them impetus to come up with the real design that has been in their brains since Bangladesh got independence from East Pakistan. Okay, so maybe we'll be discussing about this thing tomorrow. I hope because that we are done with the time. We had only classes of 2 hours today. So if you have any kind of confusion, maybe 4 or 5 minutes, whatever we can discuss. If you want to ask something, you can. Let's look at some of the queries that you have. And I'll be dealing with this thing tomorrow, the decade of assassinations and military coups. Basically, this was the period when it started with killing of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, and many other people associated with the Bangladeshi politics were killed. Karunesh, definitely I'll be giving you my phone number. I'll definitely be sharing my number, but you have to send a message maybe. And you can send a message and I'll try to maybe connect some of the times, because each day I won't be able to handle so many calls, right? But some of the times definitely you can reach out to me, send a message, and if I'll have time, definitely we'll be talking over call as well. So note down my number. Double 995888222737. This is my number. You can reach out to me. And if you'll search me over Telegram, then you'll see Roasted Geographer. It's not like Manoj Pathak, but if you'll search over Telegram, then you can find this. There is a group as well over Telegram where you can join me. I usually interact with the students over there with respect to geography optional most of the times. So you can send me a message if you want to discuss some of the things. Okay, Ravi. You're having problem with writing an introduction. So always remember that whenever you are writing an introduction, you have to try to write the idea in a single statement related to the thing whichever is asked in exam. Dhananjay, the unrest started because people were not satisfied with the response of their own government. When there are floods, many people die. So when people die, like even if the government is doing everything in their capacity, people will not be happy, right? Because they have lost their loved ones. Yeah, Bharti, this is my WhatsApp number as well. I use only this number, so you can send me message over WhatsApp. And this is the same number over Telegram as well. And maybe you can find my group of geography as well. If you'll type roasted geographer, you'll find a group also. So you can connect with me. Protyos, in all probabilities, I'm not having a class tomorrow, but it will be confirmed probably by evening only, because I cannot tell you with certainty whether I'm having the classes tomorrow or not, because I haven't been informed, neither I have discussed this thing. Subham, of course, you can say Nepal is an erring neighbor. Good, bad and good is not a word that we usually write in relationships. It is a erratic neighbor, the neighbor which is not very predictable. प्रद्युम्न, पाकिस्तान की फोर्स वहां से आके हेल्प नहीं कर रही थी, उतनी दूर से नहीं आ सकती थी वो उस समय. ठीक है. So in the next class we'll be discussing about the things that we have started, and I hope each one of you are understanding the things whatever we have discussed, right? I hope everything is clear, and now it's been number of days since we are interacting, and probably you are clear with the way we'll be approaching. So we'll be continuing with Indo-Bangladesh only in our next lecture. And do take care of your health as well, because at this point in time the cases are increasing rapidly. So stay safe and stay healthy. Have your lunch, have revisions, and try the answer that we had discussed. We'll be looking at more angles in the next lecture. No, Subham, if you are looking at the newspapers, of course, international forums are there. But mostly what they do is like they create a situation where we have a status quo. These forums are like we request only. We try to garner support of any other country. Nobody is coming to fight with you. Nobody will come at war with some other nation for cause of someone else. So, okay, I want you to take some rest, have your lunch, and enjoy your time. And we'll continue with the lectures about the relationship with India and Bangladesh. With neighbors, we'll be focusing more in detail, and rest of the world will be focusing in detail with only countries which are very, very important or are in news. Rest of the things will be going fast, and we'll make sure that you know everything in the series of lectures that are coming ahead. Have a nice time. Take care. Have a great day.